Well, I think we need more than just a blanket moratorium. We need one that will be narrowly tailored to deal with the danger of a repeated blowout by one of these deep water wells in the Gulf. But we also need one that's, as I say, narrowly tailored so it can accommodate the interests of people who are losing their jobs and of our country, because we see these drilling rigs leaving and making us more dependent on imported oil from countries that are not friendly to us. Well, I think the judge yesterday did us all a favor by saying, look, you've got to have a reasoned justification. There's more than just one interest involved here. So it's a balancing act, but so far what I'm hearing from Secretary Salazar is they are working to try to accommodate those interests of people who've lost their jobs as a result of the moratorium, as well as our dependency on imported oil. I think those are the three things that need to be accommodated in any subsequent moratorium. Well, I would encourage the administration not just to fight this in sort of a reflexive way, but to work with the Gulf Coast and to the oil and gas industry to try to tailor this in a way that makes sense. Obviously, we don't want this event like it occurred 2 months ago to ever happen again, so we want to make sure we understand what happened and prevent it from happening again. But beyond that, we're not going to quit drilling for oil and gas here in America, because to do so would condemn us to being permanently dependent on imported oil from abroad. And it would also result in the loss of perhaps 100,000 or more jobs along the Gulf Coast. So I think this requires a balanced, more reasoned approach, and my hope is the administration will come to see that and work with us. Well, it's a dramatic reminder of the ecological disaster unfolding in the Gulf, and we need to stop it. And we know that there are relief wells being drilled that if everything else fails, those will probably have the best chance of stopping it. But beyond that, we've got to come to grips with the job losses and with the dependency on imported oil. We can't just think and deal with one thing at a time. We need to deal with all of those issues, and I hope the administration will reconsider just sort of this reflexive approach to the judge's ruling and try to come up with a more balanced and nuanced approach that accommodates those various concerns. Well, I think it's really very sad. General McChrystal is one of the finest military officers I've ever had the occasion to meet, and I think he made a terrible mistake. It's just unacceptable for a military officer to show that sort of insubordination toward the commander-in-chief. Even if you disagree with him, you don't do this in public. The good news, if there is any good news out of this, is that General Petraeus will take over in Afghanistan. He's a proven leader and somebody that I have a lot of confidence in. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, to whom? Oh, hi, David. How are you? Good, thank you. Sure. Well, I think it's a sad day for the country. Here is, unfortunately, one of the finest military officers that the U.S. military has, but he made a very bad mistake, and he's tendered his resignation, and I accept the decision of the President to accept that. If there's anything that's positive out of this, and it's hard to see right now, but it is that General David Petraeus will be taking over in Afghanistan. He's one of the most highly respected military officers, again, in the United States military, and somebody that I think the country has confidence in based upon his success in Iraq. But he's got his hands full in Afghanistan because it's a much tougher place to win in than even Iraq was. Well, the only apologies that should be made with regard to the Gulf oil spill are BP apologizing to the people of the Gulf Coast and folks who've lost their jobs and folks whose lives will be forever changed by this spill that resulted from their negligence and their recklessness. I don't think that the statements of Mr. Barton represent anything that others agree with. I think he's apologized for it, as he should, and now it's between him and his colleagues in the House. I'm sorry, there's a cap coming off the spill? Mm. Well, this is a nightmare that continues to unfold in front of our very eyes. One of the things, though, that I wish that the administration would do would be waive the Jones Act, which restricts access to foreign vessels and booms that could be available, which have been offered to help contain the spill. Until we plug the spill, we know we're going to have to try to contain it, burning it off and collecting oil where we can. And this has been one area where I think the federal government's response has been completely inadequate, where we simply haven't taken advantage of all the ships and the skimmers and the boom that's been made available to us by other countries and ships flagged under other jurisdictions. The President needs to waive the Jones Act, which limits access to those ships and skimmers, and unfortunately hasn't done it yet.